I think often men struggle with this fear of inadequacy, this fear that they're not good enough. I've failed, I don't deserve his love. Or because I've failed, I don't deserve his forgiveness, right? I struggled with that a lot. I'm gonna get big and strong and powerful and so that nobody ever thinks less of me. But that's not gonna fix it ultimately. The best way to get grace is the sacraments. I think especially the sacraments of confession and communion. Because we can consistently go back to those. You're taking Christ into your body. It's going to help you carry that cross. Every time I went back to confession, I would hear from the priest, your sins have been forgiven. So I think for men in particular, it's a sacrament of grit, if you will. It's a way in which no matter how many times you have to confess the same thing over and over, you just keep going, keep going, keep going. And the Church Triumphant and the saints and the angels are all cheering us on. I know I will fail by myself, but my life's not about me. My life is about bringing Christ to the world. The sacraments are gifts from God to imbue his grace. The Church offers these to the people of God to strengthen and embolden them to live the Christian life. Men are called to fight. We got my 2-year-old boy, running up to his 11-year-old brother and trying to beat him up because that's just part of our kind of warrior spirit. What the sacraments do is invite you into the spiritual warfare that Christ accomplished on the cross. And so especially whenever we're dealing with struggles like fear of failure, fear of inadequacy, a lot of that tends to kind of go by the wayside when you have a very clear expectation of here's the fight you're supposed to be in. So the sacraments call you into that battle. Baptized as an infant, confession and first communion. Now as a confirmed adult, you're now a warrior in the battle. Strength training has been a part of my life now for a long time. Bodybuilding, did powerlifting, and it's taught me a lot about being able to put in the effort into something, and from that you get results, which spills right into your spiritual life. It's actually a vital thing for a father to take his kids and his entire family with him to these sacraments. If you think about the family as the domestic church, you're leading them as the king. You're being the prophet of good news by saying this is where the truth can be found. And you're being the priest by sacrificially offering of your time and your love to them and bringing them to where they can find these sacraments. I would definitely challenge men to study more about the theology and the practice of the Mass. Some of the smallest little things in the Mass have huge meaning. But at the minimum, it's once a week and it can become very repetitive. We know when we're supposed to stand, we know when we're supposed to kneel. If you want to get stronger, you want to get bigger muscles, what are the things that are going to be unbelievably repetitive? Your lifting and your eating. Right? The two things that are eventually going to get very dry very quickly. Not every workout's going to feel amazing. Not every workout's you're gonna end up leaving feeling like you accomplished anything, but you keep doing it, you keep going, you keep repeating it over and over again because the desired goal is the outcome of it. And the desired outcome of going to Mass and the desired outcome of receiving all of these sacraments is to become a saint. So just to recognize that sometimes repetition is actually a good thing. If we want to be the best fathers we can be, what better way than by taking Christ into your body? And so it wakes you up to the reality of what kind of life are you living to represent that? But it also wakes you up to the reality that Christ wants to invite you into his life so much that he wants you to imitate him perfectly. And Christ is the perfection of masculinity. And what better place than your own home to actually go and be a representative of the love of God, which is ultimately what a father is. So a sacramental vision of the world is to see everything through the lens of God, to see things not just for their surface level, but things that are much deeper. And what attributes of God does this thing represent? And it should guide our entire day. It should guide the fact that we are now literally representations of Jesus Christ in the world. How are you going to do that? How are you going to live up to that calling?